Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. Today, we are discussing a topic that has remained at the center of conversations among currency holders for many years. It is a subject that often creates excitement, speculation, and questions about what would happen if a foreign currency that has remained suppressed or undervalued for a long period were to strengthen significantly against the US dollar. More importantly, we will examine a factor that many people overlook: the role of the financial institution or exchange provider that ultimately processes the transaction when that currency is exchanged. The statement we are analyzing today is straightforward but carries important implications. It suggests that if a foreign currency you hold increases in value against the dollar, the bank or institution through which you exchange that currency may determine how much of the new value you actually retain. It also points out that many individuals have spent years waiting for such a scenario, while remaining largely unprepared for the practical realities that could follow. To understand why this matters, we first need to look at how currency exchange works in the real world. Many people focus almost entirely on exchange rates. They watch the value of a currency, compare it against the US dollar, and calculate potential outcomes based on hypothetical future rates. However, the exchange rate itself is only one component of the process. When a currency holder decides to exchange foreign currency for another currency, the transaction generally passes through financial institutions. These institutions may include banks, licensed currency exchange companies, brokers, or other authorized entities. Each institution operates according to its own policies, fee structures, regulations, and operational procedures. As a result, the rate that appears on financial news platforms or currency charts is not always the exact rate that an individual receives. There can be differences between wholesale rates, interbank rates, commercial rates, and retail exchange rates. In many situations, institutions apply spreads, service charges, processing fees, commissions, or other costs that affect the final amount received by the customer. This reality is not unique to any specific currency. It exists throughout the global financial system. Whether someone is exchanging euros, pounds, yen, dinars, or any other foreign currency, the institution facilitating the transaction generally plays a role in determining the final settlement amount. For followers of the Iraqi dinar, this concept is particularly important because discussions surrounding currency value often focus exclusively on exchange rate expectations. Yet practical considerations such as liquidity, market access, banking relationships, regulatory compliance, and transaction costs can be equally significant. The statement also highlights another important issue: preparedness. Many individuals spend years monitoring economic developments, central bank announcements, government reforms, and financial news. They may dedicate considerable time to studying potential scenarios regarding currency appreciation. However, fewer people spend time understanding the mechanics of exchanging currency if such an event were ever to occur. Preparation involves more than simply holding a currency. It includes understanding how exchanges are processed, knowing which institutions are authorized to conduct transactions, becoming familiar with documentation requirements, learning about tax obligations in relevant jurisdictions, and understanding potential fees that could affect the final outcome. In financial markets, preparation often separates realistic expectations from disappointment. Investors, traders, and currency holders who understand the operational side of financial transactions are generally better positioned to navigate changing market conditions. From an analytical perspective, the message serves as a reminder that a currency's market value and a holder's realized value are not necessarily identical. The market may establish a certain exchange rate, but the amount ultimately received depends on multiple layers of financial infrastructure. For Iraqi dinar followers, this observation connects to broader economic principles. Currency valuation is influenced by many factors, including economic growth, government policy, fiscal discipline, foreign investment, trade balances, monetary policy, political stability, and international confidence. When economists evaluate a currency's future potential, they typically examine these underlying fundamentals rather than relying solely on speculation. Sustainable currency strength generally reflects improvements in economic conditions, productivity, financial stability, and investor confidence. In Iraq's case, discussions about the dinar often center on economic reforms, diversification efforts, energy revenues, infrastructure development, banking modernization, and broader integration into the international financial system. Over the past several years, Iraq has undertaken various initiatives aimed at strengthening financial governance, improving banking systems, expanding digital payments, increasing transparency, and attracting investment. These developments are frequently monitored by those interested in the long-term outlook for the Iraqi economy. However, even when positive economic developments occur, currency movements are rarely simple or immediate. Financial markets respond to a wide range of variables, many of which can change rapidly. Global economic conditions, energy prices, geopolitical events, interest rate policies, and international capital flows all play important roles. This is why professional financial analysts generally avoid making absolute predictions regarding future exchange rates. Instead, they focus on probabilities, trends, and economic indicators. The statement that many people have been waiting years for a major currency event also reflects an important behavioral aspect of finance. Human psychology often influences financial decision-making. When individuals anticipate a significant future event, they may become focused on a specific outcome, while overlooking practical considerations. Expectations can gradually evolve into assumptions, and assumptions can sometimes lead to unrealistic planning. Responsible financial analysis requires separating hopes from verified information. If a currency appreciates substantially, that appreciation alone does not automatically determine every aspect of the exchange process. Financial institutions, regulations, market conditions, liquidity constraints, and transaction structures all remain relevant. Consider how large financial transactions are handled globally. Banks routinely assess compliance requirements, verify identities, monitor anti-money laundering standards, and review transaction details. These procedures exist throughout the international banking system and are designed to maintain regulatory compliance and financial security. As a result, individuals who anticipate exchanging significant amounts of foreign currency would generally benefit from understanding these requirements in advance rather than waiting until the last moment. The statement's warning that many remain unprepared may therefore be interpreted as a call for practical financial education rather than speculation. Preparation could include understanding exchange mechanisms, maintaining accurate records, safeguarding currency holdings, staying informed about legitimate banking procedures, and consulting qualified financial professionals when necessary. For Iraqi dinar followers specifically, the broader lesson extends beyond any single hypothetical event. Economic progress often occurs gradually rather than suddenly. Structural reforms, institutional improvements, investment growth, and banking modernization tend to develop over time. These long-term trends may ultimately contribute more to economic stability than short-term market excitement. Another aspect worth examining is the role of banks in determining exchange outcomes. While some people may interpret this as banks having complete control over exchange values, the reality is more nuanced. Banks operate within competitive markets and regulatory frameworks. They must manage risks, maintain liquidity, comply with regulations, and provide services profitably. The rates offered by banks often reflect these operational considerations. Different institutions may offer different rates, fees, and services. Consequently, informed consumers frequently compare available options before completing transactions. In many financial markets, competition among institutions can influence the rates offered to customers. This is another reason why understanding the financial landscape can be important for anyone involved in currency exchanges. For the Iraqi economy itself, discussions about currency valuation are ultimately linked to larger questions about economic development. A stronger economy generally supports greater confidence in financial institutions, attracts investment, improves employment opportunities, and encourages business growth. Iraq's economic future depends on numerous interconnected factors, including fiscal management, private sector expansion, infrastructure improvements, energy sector performance, and institutional effectiveness. While currency discussions often attract attention, economists typically emphasize that sustainable prosperity comes from productive economic activity, rather than exchange rate movements alone. A nation's currency reflects the health of its broader economic environment. Strong institutions, transparent governance, diversified industries, and investor confidence all contribute to long-term financial stability. From a short-term perspective, the message we are analyzing encourages caution and realism. Currency holders should understand that financial transactions involve operational realities beyond headline exchange rates. Short-term implications include increased awareness of banking procedures, exchange mechanisms, and transaction costs. Individuals who educate themselves about these factors may be better prepared to make informed decisions if market conditions change. The statement also highlights the importance of avoiding assumptions. Financial outcomes are rarely determined by a single variable. Exchange rates, institutional policies, regulatory requirements, and market conditions all interact to influence final results. From a long-term perspective, the message underscores the value of financial literacy. Understanding how the banking system functions can be just as important as understanding economic news. For Iraqi dinar followers, maintaining a balanced perspective remains essential. Monitoring economic reforms, central bank policies, and broader economic indicators can provide valuable insights into the country's financial trajectory. At the same time, understanding practical financial processes helps ensure that expectations remain grounded in reality. One of the most important lessons from financial history is that markets often reward preparation. Individuals who understand both the economic and operational aspects of financial transactions are generally better equipped to respond to changing circumstances. This does not mean predicting specific outcomes. Rather, it means being informed, realistic, and aware of the factors that influence financial decisions. The statement's reference to years of waiting also reminds us that patience alone is not a financial strategy. Knowledge, preparation, and realistic expectations are equally important. For those who follow developments related to Iraq's economy and the Iraqi dinar, the key takeaway is that economic progress should be evaluated through verified data, credible sources, and measurable reforms. Sustainable financial growth is built on fundamentals, not assumptions. As Iraq continues pursuing economic development initiatives, investors, analysts, and observers will continue monitoring indicators such as government reforms, banking modernization, foreign investment trends, fiscal performance, and broader economic stability. These factors provide a more comprehensive picture of economic progress than any single headline or rumor. Ultimately, the message serves as a useful reminder that financial success is not determined solely by what happens in the market. It is also influenced by preparation, knowledge, planning, and understanding how financial systems operate. If a currency appreciates in value, the practical process of converting that value into realized gains involves institutions, regulations, fees, and procedures. Those realities are part of the financial landscape and deserve just as much attention as the exchange rate itself. For Iraqi dinar followers, this perspective encourages a responsible and informed approach. Focus on facts, monitor credible economic developments, understand how financial institutions operate, and remain cautious about claims that oversimplify complex financial processes. As always, successful financial decision-making begins with education, patience, and realistic expectations, rather than speculation. Thank you for watching Iraqi Dinar News. Be sure to subscribe for responsible, factual, and balanced updates about the Iraqi dinar, Iraq's economy, and important financial developments. This content is provided for informational and educational purposes only, and should not be considered financial, investment, or legal advice. Always conduct your own research and consult qualified professionals before making financial decisions.